today's top boxing news.
The winner of Sky and Raven, right? Or whoever wins, right? Now, what do you think the landscape is for the rest of 126? Because the other belts are held by Amanda Serrano. What do you think? And then Amanda Serrano has Katie Taylor, and then we don't know what she's going to do after. Maybe a little PFL or something. Like, so what's going to happen with those belts? Are you going to have to sit, or are you going for Amanda?
I'm going for everybody at 126, whether it be Amanda, Raven, Sky. I don't care.
Let's go.
Period, with the T on the end.
Let's go.
So you do. So the next two opponents that you want are Sky and Amanda.
I want all of them. I want everybody ranked above me. I want them all to prove to them I am the best on the planet featherweight. Period.
That is Tiara Brown making her declaration of war upon anyone who is ranked ahead of her in the current divisional rank standings. Tiara ranks in at number 6, at least on BoxRec. Number 6, with Raven Chapman, Daniela Bermudez, Sarah Mahfoud, Nina Menke, and Sky Nicolson ahead of her. Amanda Serrano is absent, but Amanda Serrano was mentioned. And Amanda Serrano still holds 2 alphabet titles at this weight, the WBA and WBO titles. Tiara Brown is speaking up. I always found it curious, the amount of time she spent calling out Sky Nicolson, who hadn't been a pro for very long, just about a year, wasn't a world champion. The hell is somebody as experienced as Tiara calling out a prospect with a little over a handful of fights? At that time, because Sky was not a champion yet, and I thought to myself, shouldn't Tiara be calling Amanda out, since Amanda's the woman to beat at this weight? Amanda's the lineal champion. She wasn't calling her out before, but she's calling her out now. Calling out anyone and everyone ranked ahead of her. That's got to include Nina Menke, who became IBF champion this weekend opposite the ring Daniela Bermudez. She's got this upcoming fight with the Dominican Republic's own Diana Vargas. A fight that I think she can and will win. If she makes it through that fight, she's gunning for the winner of Nicolson versus Chapman. Now, if the winner is Sky Nicolson, I think Sky derails her. I think Sky outpoints Tiara Brown. She's too fast, too sharp, too long and limber, too on the go for Tiara Brown, who's in her mid-30s. Sky wins on points, out-hustling Tiara Brown. That's if Sky beats Raven. If Raven beats Sky, and Raven fights Tiara afterwards, well, that's a different fight. Sky being an outside fighter, an outside mover, would make the fight difficult for Tiara. But Raven isn't an outside fighter. No, she's a mid-range to inside fighter, a combination puncher. Kind of puncher Tiara wouldn't have to chase, wouldn't have to find. I think that's an easier fight for Tiara, but we have to see what happens between Sky and Raven first. Nina, this division's newest champion, newly crowned IBF champion, I would give Tiara Brown very good odds to beat Nina Menke and take her belt. The issue is that Tiara is not the next fighter in line for that fight. No, Nigeria's Elizabeth Oshoba is the next fighter in line for that fight. Tiara has no claim. She's not the mandatory. She has no leverage to get Nina Menke in the ring, and no real money behind her, no major promoter to put the money up so that Nina would defend her title against her voluntarily. So I don't see that fight materializing. It's a very winnable fight for Tiara Brown if she can make it happen, but it ain't gonna happen. The featherweight division is a very deep, talent-rich division. Tiara Brown is just one fighter that's there. She has other fighters that she has to contend with too, and while she may claim that she wants all the smoke at 126 pounds, on the premise she thinks she beats them all, and she has to. It's a fighter's mindset. You're never going to get anywhere doubting yourself. Just fine. That doesn't necessarily make it true. That if she actually gets the Sky Nicolson fight that she's been gunning for a very long time, I think she may have a humbling experience, the likes of which she hasn't had before, not in the pros, since she's an unbeaten fighter. Unbeaten for now, it's going to become increasingly difficult to stay an unbeaten fighter as things heat up at 126. She's got to get through Diana Vargas. Sky Nicolson has got to get through Raven Chapman. Raven's got to get through Sky, and we'll see what happens as the heat rises in the featherweight division. Elsewhere in the world of boxing yesterday, you may have come across footage of Devin Haney and Eddie Hearn having it out at the fights once Devin Haney was able to get in the building. What it was all about According to Devin Haney, he said, "Wow, I'm in London. Eddie won't give me tickets to the fight but keeps mentioning me every chance he gets. Eddie is the fakest guy I ever met, bro." To which Eddie Hearn responded, "You asked me at 6 a.m. this morning. First, I look after my fighters. Ask someone else and drop the arrogance." To which Devin responded, "Alhamdulillah. I respect Bob because he kept it straight business, and so did Oscar. He wasn't trying to act like he was my friend and cared about me so much. Eddie acts like that, then two-faced behind your back."
What do I think about this? If it's true that Devin waited until 6 a.m. yesterday morning, if it's true that he waited until the very last minute in an effort to be fashionably late, or just absent-minded, or just arrogant,
I can hardly blame Eddie Hearn for prioritizing what are his fighters and getting them in the building because they actually made a commitment to Matchroom. Devin didn't. Devin is a free agent, free to go where he wants to go.
he wanted to get into the fight free yesterday.
Eventually he got in. Eventually he did and was seated next to Terrence Crawford, but not before going on the attack,
Blasting Eddie Hearn.
who described Devin as being arrogant. Yes, I think Devin was being arrogant too. Put it all into context. You do a lot of business with Eddie Hearn, but you didn't actually make a commitment to him or Matchroom. You have a good working relationship.
Decent, and you're willing to throw that all away because you can't get some free tickets?
You say that Bob Arum was more straightforward. Bob Arum kept it business. Okay, then go do more business with Bob Arum and stop sniffing around Matchroom.
Oscar?
I remember Devin and Ryan saying that Oscar failed to pay them their money immediately after their fight. I remember that. The same Oscar De La Hoya that both Canelo Alvarez and Juan Manuel Marquez accused of being a thief, trying to take their money.
That Oscar.
You said you respect Bob because he kept it straight business, and so did Oscar. So go do more business with Bob and Oscar and stop sniffing around Matchroom.
What, is that too extreme? Is that too dramatic? Well, so is doing what Devin did because he couldn't get free tickets, because he couldn't get in the door free of charge. That's pretty extreme too, calling Eddie the fakest guy you ever met.
Then stop hanging around him. Stop expecting special treatment, favors, as if you're a Matchroom fighter, because you're not a Matchroom fighter.
Matchroom.
Devin Haney doesn't have a lot of sympathizers right now, in case he hasn't noticed. Between the shellacking he took at the hands of Ryan Garcia and the bad press that he got for striking someone at a carnival, a carny,
Matchroom.
he doesn't have a lot of sympathizers, a lot of people in a rush to defend him. Eddie Hearn is one of the few. You want to burn that bridge over free tickets? I would call that extreme.
But if that's how you feel, then stop sniffing around Matchroom.
So when you jump on your social media to make these feelings known, make them public, you're not doing it for no reason. You're doing it because you're looking for sympathy, because you want to defame this individual publicly. Otherwise, you wouldn't post it publicly on your social media, if that's the way it is.
What an infantile thing to do. It's something that a teenager would do, except Evan's not a teenager. He's in his mid to late 20s. You're a grown-up now.
So Eddie couldn't get you in the door? Find somebody else who can. Terrence Crawford was in the building, and it looks like Terrence got him in the building, as he was seated next to Terrence for the fights.
These young guys are not likable. Devin, Shakur, Teofimo, Ryan.
Devin is arrogant, Shakur is temperamental,
Teofimo is a clout chaser, and Ryan is a racist.
Teofimo is too. This younger generation of fighters, they're really not likable.
No.
So it's not a coincidence that this younger generation is nowhere near as popular as some other fighters used to be. Now, maybe fighters in previous eras of boxing had a better rapport with the audience, understood what the audience wanted, and did more to deliver that.
When men were men.
And not petulant little boys throwing temper tantrums as soon as they can't get their way, peeing and shitting themselves while kicking up a storm on their social media accounts, looking for sympathy.
Like I said, it's a little bit extreme to take to your social media and call this guy who you do a lot of business with, have done a lot of business with.
Oh, he's the fakest guy because you couldn't get in for free, because seemingly you waited until the last minute and you were waiting on him to accommodate you when he has fighters that are actually signed to him
that take precedent, that take priority. These guys aren't likable, man. It's not a big deal, and this is boxing. If you want loyalty, get a dog. A hamster. Because where you're saying this about Eddie, that's more or less what Shakur was saying about Top Rank. That's more or less what Teofimo was saying too. That's what Ryan's been saying about Golden Boy and Canelo. Canelo said the same things about Oscar that Ryan says about Oscar, and more. The point. There are a lot of stigmas attached to the promoters, and the promoters are the bad guys. The promoters are the slime balls. Horror stories from previous eras of boxing that have carried over into this one where, near as I can tell, it's not always the promoters that are slime balls. Sometimes it's the fighters. Hell, a lot of the time these days, it's the fighters that are arrogant, petulant, disloyal, dishonest, disingenuous, selfish? Yeah. A lot of the times these days you see there are problems. It's not the promoter, it's the fighters. The fighters are like whiny kids, whiny children. That's what Devine Haney resembled in all of this, but as stated, if you don't like Eddie and he's a fake guy, then do more business with Bob. Go do more business with Oscar. I don't remember Devin ever complaining about not being paid when he was fighting under Matchroom, but the one fight he had under Golden Boy, that's what he said. So go do more business with Golden Boy, why don't you? You're so mad. Eddie's so fake. Go do more business with Golden Boy then. And finally, in men's heavyweight news, Tyson Fury, on his defeat to Alexander Usyk, he said he got a gift decision over the Gypsy King. End of. It is what it is. It's over now. They took my virginity unfairly. It'd probably feel weird if I'd done it for 50 million pounds, but considering I got broken for a lot of money, it really doesn't matter. It is what it is. You can't undo a decision. But I've got the chance to do it again in December, and that's what we'll do. I will knock him out. A gift, he says. Nothing about that fight and the circumstances under which it was fought suggest that Alexander Usyk got favorable treatment, partial treatment, when the promotion was more behind Tyson Fury than it was Alexander Usyk. It was more behind Fury. Fury who's taller, Fury who's longer, Fury who's supposed to be stronger and younger. He had every conceivable advantage. So when you falter, you can start crying about how he got a gift. A gift? A gift is what you got in the John McDermott fight that was widely publicized after it happened as one of the bigger robberies your country had ever seen. That's a gift. You got a gift with John McDermott, and what you got with Usyk was a shellacking. He's telling himself and the media whatever he needs to tell himself and the media. That's what it is, and it's as simple as that. Now telling reporters that he wants to fight Daniel Dubois after the Alexander Usyk rematch to become the undisputed heavyweight world champion. I've got to do the rabbit, and I'm gonna get the belts back once again. And then I'll fight Dubois and take that off of him as well. That is my plan. Light at the end of the tunnel for what remains of Tyson Fury's fan base and what rocks they are now crawling from under that Anthony Joshua has lost, for a moment in the sun and a chance to gloat over an outcome they likely didn't forecast, because most people didn't expect that Anthony would lose yesterday. They must now be hoping that Tyson Fury doesn't lose in December, that he wins and makes good on his word, that he fights Daniel afterwards and becomes undisputed champion, to occupy the seat they at least thought he once held as this era's premier heavyweight. If he did it, I'd have to give him credit. If he beat Usyk in a rematch and beat Daniel subsequently afterwards, I wouldn't deny him his plaudits. If he did it, though, can he? So I noticed yesterday, while he was on camera, he didn't look fit and trim like he did going into the first fight. He looked portly. He looked heavy. And I know that we are some ways out from the rematch, that there's still all of October and all of November and most of December for Fury to prepare. He did look big. Big. I don't think it's his intention to lean out in the rematch the way he did ahead of the first fight. No, I don't think he's looking to box and punch in the rematch. I think he's looking to brawl. I think he's going to look to maul Alexander Usyk. He might actually put on size
for the rematch. Like what he did with Wilder, he might try that with Usyk.
Will it work?
It worked with Wilder because Wilder ain't got no feet and no coordination. So if you push him back, if you push him onto his back foot and keep the pressure on him, he doesn't know how to respond. Usyk, he has the feet, the coordination, the movement that Wilder doesn't have. So giving him the bum's rush may not elicit the same effect.
Still, Fury's best bet.
The one thing Fury hasn't tried, you tried boxing him and that didn't work because he's a better boxer than you are. Now, you gotta try to use your size. You have to try to bully him.
I'm not convinced it's gonna work, but for argument's sake, let's say that it does, and he fought Daniel afterwards.
What would that fight look like? Well, don't expect a whole lot of respect from Daniel Dubois because he's not there to fence with you. He's not there to fiddle and feint and fence with you for round after round. He's gonna come right at you the same way he came right at Anthony.
Because he's not there for a boxing match. And as many times as Fury has been down by as many people like Nevin Pajcik, like Steve Cunningham, Wilder,
Usyk, arguably, since the ropes were all that held Tyson Fury up when they fought, if these guys can down you, Daniel can down you.
Daniel can hurt you. They did.
He can get to you and he can land a bomb because they did. It's not like time is on Tyson Fury's side any more than it was on Anthony Joshua's side. The both of you guys are in your mid-30s. You're not getting younger. You're not getting faster.
You're not better now than you were.
Where Daniel is in his mid to late 20s, he's entering into his prime years, while you are exiting yours. So that would be a dangerous fight, a very dangerous fight for Tyson Fury if he were fortunate enough to beat Usyk in a rematch and fight Daniel afterwards. You could give Daniel reasonable odds to win that fight.
If Fury makes it that far, like I said, I'm not convinced he's going to, because if his plan now is to put on weight so he can give Usyk the bum's rush, get physical with him, get rough with him, I'm not convinced that's going to work. The sooner you step into your punches, the sooner you're going to get cracked again, countered again, and bounced around the ring like you did in the 9th round.
Moving lateral and playing keep away with Usyk, not engaging, is what bought him time. But as his confidence was building, he starts stepping into his punches, and that's when he took damage.
You're not going to play around this time. You're going to get off to an earlier start. And the sooner you step into your punches, that's as soon as it'll take for him to hurt you again. Except this time, he's planning to finish you.